wanted to kick off this session with a quote from Nathan Ben-H and Ian Hogarth that biology is experiencing its AI moment. So Nathan and Ian are authors of the annual State of AI report. This is something that they compile annually. It's free on the web at stateof.ai and provides a really comprehensive overview of what's going on in the field of AI generally. And what was notable this year is how much or how many examples there are in their report that relate to biology and life sciences. And I just also wanted to take a little bit of a step back here in terms of, we are hearing AI everywhere now, so that everything seems to be prefixed with AI. And just to have a little bit of a review as to why are we talking about AI and why now? So over the last decade, this field has really changed. It's been around for a long time, AI. It's not a new field. But going back to 2012, ImageNet, which is a computer visual object recognition competition, saw a really significant advance in the capability of AI to recognize objects within digital images. And so this program AlexNet, which used a convolutional neural network, showed a really significant advance in capability. And then over the next few years, there was this really rapid acceleration in performance of AI computation to do what was actually a really complex task and previously thought, really kind of quite intractable. And then coming quite hot on the heels of that, we saw from DeepMind AlphaGo beating the reigning Go world champion Lee Sedol in a quite dramatic competition in Korea, where the AI platform AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol 4-1. And again, that was really a very transformative scenario of AI working with Go, which is a very difficult game to tackle through computation because it's so expansive. And then again, following on from that, again from DeepMind, they first entered the CASP competition, which is a protein structure prediction competition where computational groups try and predict the structures of unknown proteins. The structures have been solved in advance, but the structures haven't been revealed. So the first time of entry, the CASP 13, AlphaFold won that. And then it's a biannual competition. And the next time they entered in 2020 with AlphaFold 2, which had quite a significant change in their AI engine, they won it really decisively and at such a level that, they have effectively solved many aspects of the protein folding problem, and they have really transformed the whole field of protein structure prediction and design. So over this last decade, when we look back at this, each of these are really kind of very transformative moments, and they've come in very quick succession, and we're now beginning to see the capability of AI really having a huge impact across a number of fields. And so I just wanted to pull out a few examples. These were in the State of AI report, and they don't cut across the talks that we're going to see this afternoon. One of these is the use of language models. So language models are good at predicting the next word in a sentence. So you can generate natural language. And when they were applied to proteins, somewhat surprisingly, they proved actually very good at predicting the next amino acid in a sequence given a particular class and function of proteins. And you could generate new to nature proteins not seen before with similar to wild type functionality, which is quite remarkable. Language approaches have also been used to look at viral escape of COVID viruses. And here they use two components of grammar and meaning, and they were looking for changes in the amino acid language, which would preserve the grammar or the viral fitness, but change the meaning and allow it to escape from the immune system. And again, through this, it proved to be very accurate at predicting viral escape mutants of viruses. And another sequence to structure example around RNA, which perhaps surprisingly proves very difficult to predict its structure, and there's far fewer RNA structures in the databases than there are protein structures. And this developed a particular type of neural network that used rotational symmetry, and from a very limited set of small RNA structures developed a neural net that could accurately predict newer, much larger and more complex RNA structures. And then finally, if you do any kind of search around AI and therapeutics or drug design, you will see that there's a huge interest in this field. It's really exploding. And this is just one example where AI is being used to look for and predict new drug combinations and doses and therapies to improve therapeutic outcome. And I think part of the reason why drug therapeutics and AI is seeing such an active field is because this is an industry that was really has been suffering under the weight of its business model of taking $3 billion to get a new drug to market. So anything that can give an improvement, an enhancement through either repurposing or retooling with kind of known components has potentially a great role to play in enhancing real outcomes for people. And it's also notable in terms of business opportunities. So these next couple of slides are directly from the State of AI report. And so every year they make predictions. And last year they predicted that an AI-first drug discovery company would IPO to have an initial public offering on a stock exchange. And a British AI company, Exscientia, did indeed IPO on the NASDAQ for a $3 billion valuation last October. And they have developed 3 drugs which they've taken into phase 1 clinical trials. And that's quite a remarkable feat during the timescale of the development of this company to get not 1, but actually 3 drugs into the clinic. And they have another others in their pipeline. And then the second example, Recursion Pharmaceuticals, who use AI to basically optimize their screening and their kind of therapeutic background data. And they're trying to build a map of disease biology and drug relationships, and via that way kind of develop new therapeutic candidates. And so it was this phrase, an AI first company. That's a company where it's considered that their AI model is front and center of their value proposition. So how they are actually going to add value in terms of their business is through the application of AI. In the biotech world, we've also seen GINKGO BIOWORKS, obviously very well known in synthetic biology. They IPO'd last September for like a $15 billion valuation. So that's, that's huge in biotech. But interestingly, GINKGO don't describe themselves as an AI first company. They are extremely data intensive. They produce vast amounts of data, and they are data led in what they do. But I think this disjunction between how you describe an AI first company and perhaps how GINKGO works is sort of getting at perhaps some of this interface that we're going to explore this afternoon between AI approaches and AI and the difficulty of actually engineering biology across biological scales. So if we think about AI and synthetic biology, the engineering of cells, which is what GINKGO does, as well as what many of us do, that requires integration across a diversity of scales and structures. So we have DNA, we have proteins, there are networks, there are pathways. And I think what we are beginning to see are AI approaches that address some of these individual layers. But what I'm hoping that we will see and explore a bit this afternoon is, how can we address that biological continuum? And so thinking again about what the field needs and where we'll be having our discussions later this afternoon is, do we need human interpretable AI or machine learning that has to be adapted for biological data, which can be heterogeneous, noisy, sparse, etc. And can we accelerate the engineering of biology that can cope with in-context differences? So very often, as we change the sequence or cellular context of a biological component, its behavior may change. And of course, all AI is built on structured data. And what does that mean for synthetic biology?